Good evening, everyone. We will start the webinar now. Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the USMLE webinar conducted by the Asian Medical Student Association, also known as AMSA. Today, we will be discussing everything that you need to know about the USMLE exam. It's from various steps, exam timeline, in terms of cost, and so much more. Whether you're just getting started or planning your path forward, this session will give you valuable insights. We are incredibly excited to be joined today by not by one, but two doctors who have successfully matched in the United States this year. Let me introduce to you Dr. Arpitha Venkatareddy, currently pursuing internal medicine at Fort Wayne in Indiana, and Dr. Purvik Gowda, also pursuing internal medicine at HCA Healthcare Center in Florida. Both of our great guest speakers are alumni of the SS Institute of Medical Sciences in Davangere, and they are here to share their journey, tips, and lessons from their USMLE experiences. Now let's give them a very warm welcome and let's get started. So, Dr. Arpitha, my question is to you. What is USMLE and what is the process that the student must go through?
So first of all, hello everyone. It is nice to join you all here and share some insights with regard to USMLE. So, hi Adarsh. To address your question, I would say, so USMLE is a pathway which you choose to get into a kind of training that you want for yourself. Uh, with the specialty training. So this this is something you would choose. It's something like NEET and other kind of super specialty exams that you would choose, but it's a kind of rigorous exam, and that's why we're all here to discuss about it. Yeah.
Okay. And what are the steps that the USMLE offers?
So with regard to the steps, I would say like there are certain criteria that we have to fulfill to get into specialty programs in the US. So the major one I would say would be steps, having to do three different steps. So before this, like normally we have step one and step two CK and step three. So before there used to be step 2 CS, but now it has been replaced by OET. So we have to do step 1, step 2 CS and OET and get ECFMG certified. This is a very important prerequisite to apply for residency programs. So apart from that, we have to get 3 LORs from the US physicians. For this, we'll have to do rotations in the US, rotate under the US physicians, and get the LORs. So for that, we require at least 2 to 3 months of USC in the US. And I know there's a lot of discussion about research, but research is not a prerequisite, but it's good to have some research also to apply for residency there.
Okay, fine. Now let's shift the focus on you, Dr. Puri. In each step, what are the different subjects or contents that we have to study for? Like in step one, what subjects? In step two, so how much? Like so forth.
Uh, Hi everyone, my name is Purvik. I'm really happy to be here and share whatever information that I might have, so that it can help the rest of you who are going on this journey moving forward. So to answer your question, so we have, like you said, like Dr. Arpita said, there's step one, step two, step three. So step one is mostly basic sciences, um, say anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, pharmacology, uh, and the like. Basically, first year, second year for the most part. And one thing that you need to know about the USMLE exams is the fact that it's basically, so each question in the USMLE step exam is an amalgamation of multiple different branches of medicine. So you will not see any question which is purely a physiology question per se. It's usually going to have an interplay between biochemistry with physiology or stuff like that. So step one, basic sciences, first year, second year. Step two, you're looking at more clinical oriented stuff, something like second year onwards, medicine, surgery, and the like, and more clinical medicine. Uh, and then I don't know if you want to know about step three, but step three, day one, more basic science related, day two, more clinical sciences related. And then you also have something called CCS cases, which is completely different. But yeah.
Okay, so if I'm right, step three is more practical side. We deal with the practical aspect of medicine.
Sure, but like I said, day one is more basic sciences heavy. So, I mean, the guy might literally ask stuff like, some pathway stuff, like something from biochemistry. So stuff like that
Okay.
can also appear. So it's very basic sciences heavy, like first year, second year heavy on day one only. But day two is more clinical uh, side heavy. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And step one and step two is done in India, or do we have to go to the US as
So yeah, so for step one, step two, I mean, based on wherever you live, I think any of the major cities might have some sort of center for step one and step two, and OIT too. You can write OIT in India. I think OIT is a little more. You have a lot more options. But for step three, you can only give this exclusively in the US. So and to write step three, you should be ECFMG certified. So that's a big thing you need to get out of the way before you get there. So
Okay, okay, all right. Dr. Arpita, in terms of monetary or like monetary terms, how much does USMLE cost? Like, I think you're mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I understand that's a big question. So, with regard to monetary, I think I'll give you an estimate that I had to endure in this process. So, with regard to exams, we know like each exam costs around 1 lakh in Indian rupees, the fee, and the preparation, you need to get UWorld and all of that. So, for in all the exams included, I would say something around 10 lakhs in Indian rupees, and and then you will have to go to the US for rotations. For that, it depends on if you're what kind of rotations you're taking, if it's paid or not paid. So with all that included, I think one trip would approximately cost you some 8 lakhs on an average, you know, considering both paid and unpaid rotations. Uh, these are the major financial things you will have to, endure in this process. Uh, Other than that, yeah, I think everything included, something around 20 lakhs is what you can expect, yeah,
And
to cost.
any financial aids or scholarships related to the USMLE? Anybody provide?
Unfortunately, no.
That is
Unfortunately,
unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah.
What about the material, study material that a student must follow? Anything that you can suggest?
Yeah, so I believe first aid is the Bible for all USMLE students. I used it for my step one, step two, step three. So you have all the topics that you have to cover for all the three exams in that. Apart from that, UWorld gives you a good approach on how to, tackle those questions and what they're actually looking for. So UWorld is a good resource. So to understand all this, I think you will need some kind of resources, which I used both and beyond. So people use Kaplan, and there are a lot of YouTube videos which you can check, and yeah, they're all for free, and that would be good resources as well.
Okay. And
stuff
what
like
about the use of
sketchy, you have dirty medicine, you have
Yeah,
randy
sketchy.
meal, you have a lot of good
Yeah,
resources if you choose to avail them.
okay, okay.
Pathoma is also a good resource actually for step one that way.
Okay. And what about the use of any Indian books, like for example, for anatomy, the Great Anatomy, if I'm not wrong. And like, do those help, or is it
So
just a myth?
anatomy is not. Did someone talk? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. So anatomy is not very heavy in the USMLE, so you don't have to worry a lot about anatomy. First aid should be enough. But in to be honest, I used Marrow. I did Marrow for NEET, so I used that for studying a few topics. You can use, but I believe our Indian curriculum is very extensive, and you don't require to know all those topics very extensively for USMLE. So they are trying to test your basic knowledge, your understanding, and Indian curriculum is more focused on how you can remember, each classification and all of that. So you don't. I think you can like use it, but like what you're doing, like you check it with first aid and you can use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adding to what Dr. Arpita said, I think it comes down to understanding how the exam is structured. Like I said before,
Hmm.
you always have an interplay of multiple branches of medicine. for each question. So I think just reading a textbook is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And in that sense, maybe sticking to what is going to be USMLE specific is going to help you more than opposed to just reading, uh, say, Robbins or something.
Okay.
Figuring out what the exam is, that's the major part. If once you understand what they're trying to get from you, I think half the work is done. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Dr. Purvik, what are the subjects that are, heavy depend or, a lot of weightage on a particular subject?
I mean, depends on the steps, but I think for step one, pathology is very heavy. I mean, at the end of the day, pathology is what is usually tested, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. But then again, I wouldn't say it's heavy on some particular thing. Like I said, it's multiple things playing on the same question, right? So, uh, yeah, maybe pathology, physiology, but like I said, it's an interplay, man. So it just comes down to how well you're able to do your pattern recognition, how well you're able to recognize the right answers, and you train your mind to do it in a very short period of time. Yeah, it just comes down to that. So, but like Dr. Arpitha said, anatomy is not very heavy in the USMLEs because I think it just comes down to the fact that it can be very direct. There's
Mhm.
no real application, and there's no real interplay between different subjects that you know is needed for an anatomy question. So there are very few anatomy questions. So one thing I can say is anatomy is not very heavy on the USMLEs. So.
Yeah.
That's
And
a
like
relief.
adding to that, actually, patho is, yeah, very important. And I think micro also they test a lot compared to pharmacology. Micro they test a lot. Uh, and yeah, like biochem, a little bit of biochem also. So that should be it.
Okay. And when do you think is the best time to start studying for USMLE? And when's the best time to give it also?
Uh, okay. So I started preparing for USMLE after my graduation, 6 months after my graduation. So yeah, like I did finish the steps and I'm here in residency. But if someone asked me, I would recommend them to start early in the college years, like third year of medical school, when you have finished your second year subjects, you know you have the strong foundation. So that's when you're fresh with the topics, that's when you start for step one preparation, I would say. And for step two, I would say you finish your final year subjects, you go through all the clinical like rotations in your college, and uh, during your internship, when you know the approach to a patient, I think that would be a good time to go for step two. Uh, I would also like recommend, personally, I would recommend you finish your rotations in the US one or two so that you have an idea of how their system works and how they think, so that your approach to step two will be actually a little bit better.
Okay.
That
Um,
and step
mhm.
three, I think step three is like you can do it anytime. You don't have to worry a lot about step three. You can do it like after applying, before submitting your rank list. That should be fine.
Okay. And we also know USMLE is not only a marks-based system. Like you need to add something to your CV, right? I think a lot
Yeah.
of students hear what to do to improve their CV. And so what are things that a student can do, to glow up that CV?
Right. So there are multiple things that you can do uh, to make sure your CV stands out. I mean, at this point, I think it's become like a necessity because everyone does it.
Mm.
So you have to, jump on the bandwagon and sort of you're forced to do it, whether you like it or not. So one of the things that you can do is publications, research of some kind. I'll elaborate on that further. And then the other option that you have is volunteering of some sort. uh, and really having any kind of hobby which is sort of unique to you and sort of describes you as a person would be a plus, I think, because it makes for interesting conversations during interviews. So that's
Mhm.
one more thing. Basically they want to see that you have some sort of passion for something outside of medicine. That's the third part. Let's keep that aside. Looking at research, so with respect to research, my advice would be, I think everybody talks about So once you get into the application cycle itself, everybody talks about good quality research and stuff like that. Sure, it's very, very important. But before you get to that point, you sort of want to dip your toes in the water, so as to speak. So doing something small scale, something local, something with your professor or someone who you know, or your own fellow colleagues in your medical college or something, whatever, so that you sort of get up to speed with respect to what all you need to know, what all you need to do, like, based on the kind of studies, the kind of skills that you need to learn. You can sort of do smaller things to sort of understand and learn what to do with respect to research. And then once you sort of get the hang of it, like you do one or two projects, you sort of know what to do. At that point, you can literally start doing things for yourself. You found a rare case, you can write a case report. uh, you can do systemic analysis based on data you pull from the public domain, or you can do meta-analysis by combining different multiple studies together. All these kinds of statistical analysis you can do. So yeah, one step at a time. Make sure you do something local so that you sort of get the hang of how to write, what to look, how to look at data, how to interpret data, and stuff like that. And like I said, volunteering. You can participate as a volunteer for different organizations which are already doing stuff, or you can take the lead and and organize stuff for these kinds of people. Obviously, I think it goes without saying that if you have some sort of leadership, if you've played some sort of leadership role within these kinds of organizations, it's a positive thing, right? So so yeah, comes down to that.
And regarding research, does quality matter over quantity, or is it the other way around?
Oh yeah, quality definitely matters, but at the end of the day, I mean, if I'm being very honest, it also comes down to the fact that it's a checkbox, right? Uh, Most of the programs that you might apply to might not really care about research as much, so it's definitely a checkbox. And imagine, unless unless you publish something in a very, very good journal, we talk about quality, right? Unless you publish in a very, very good journal, whatever else that you publish is probably not up to the mark in the first place. So unfortunately, it comes down to becoming a numbers game at some point. But
Mhm.
quality is definitely very important. But you need to make sure you're hitting the quantity too. So
Yeah. And
so that's
they
why
will
I
check.
start early.
So,
Yeah, go.
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but they will check, if you have just done it for the sake of it. You need to know why you did the research. It doesn't matter how small it is, how big it is, but you have to explain to them what is the purpose of the research, how it will contribute to medicine. So that, I think that is important,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, these are interview questions, man. They literally open your CV, and then they read out the study, and they say, okay, so why did you do this? What was the significance of this? What were you thinking when you decided to pursue this particular direction or whatever? So we should have a pretty compelling answer, right? Otherwise, they will just think you piggybacked off someone else's work, and
Yeah.
just got credit for it. So yeah.
Okay. And does the research signify which residency that you would want to go? Or like, is it possible to do research for a particular subject and do residency for some other subject? Does that work?
So it can. I think all research shows this effort. So
Okay.
I think it comes down to effort for the most part. That you're showing these program directors that you're putting effort into trying to contribute to medicine first and foremost, and sort of learning, because as a resident you will be publishing stuff. Even if you're in a community hospital, you're probably going to be publishing stuff, presenting stuff in one of these conferences and whatnot. Uh, so yeah, uh, matters.
Okay.
You can use
Uh,
this research to justify your interests as well. Like if you are telling in the interview that you are interested in a specific fellowship, like some oncology, and you have research related to oncology, it just shows that you're really, you have your
Interest.
passion there and your interest there. So you can direct it like that.
okay. Okay. And one more question I'd like to ask is, does contacts like help you achieving USMLE? Like, does it help in cracking? Or is it like a person who doesn't need support, just cracks through based on their sources and their hard work?
Right. Just one clarification before we continue. USMLE itself is the exam, and residency is what you're aiming for.
Okay.
Residency is the post graduation in the US that you eventually want to achieve, and USMLE is just one stepping stone for it. It's just an exam. So don't mix the two
Okay.
because it's gonna get confusing, like eras, that, this, and all that. But yeah, yeah, go ahead. You're gonna answer.
So, yeah, if we have to talk about contacts, contacts are very important. But that doesn't mean like people who do not have any contacts, do not have doctors like in US, you can't do it. It's something you build over time. You reach out to your seniors, reach out to your cousins' friends, your friends' friends, and yeah, like you will build those contacts over time. But they are very important, I would say, like in getting you the right kind of opportunities right from rotations till you match. I think they do play a role.
Yeah,
Okay.
and even for with respect to building contacts, it can happen anywhere, right? Imagine you've gone for a rotation in the US, you happen to meet some doctor somewhere, or the preceptor that you're working with, you manage to impress him. He would want to recommend you, or he'll have contacts, or he will talk to people he knows and stuff like that. One other thing that you can do is attending conferences,
Mm.
like ACP, American College of Physicians, any kind of chapter meetings or whatever that they have. If you present a poster, something of that sort. You during these kinds of conferences, you have program directors, you have residents, you have chief residents, and all kinds of faculty. Coming for these kinds of meeting, right? So it's sort of you can sort of network in these kinds of ways, and which will eventually help in you getting a residency at some point.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk more about rotations. Like, how long is a rotation? Like, what's the duration of this phase?
So it can be as short as 1 week to as long as how many ever months you decide to do in that place. But for it to be significant, I think for the programs to take you seriously, you're better off doing at least 4 weeks at one place.
Okay.
Uh, so for the most part, why they stick to 4 weeks is because imagine you work with a doctor for 1 week. There's not much the doctor can gauge with respect to your working style and your discipline and your knowledge and all these kinds of things. So yeah, 4 weeks is a good number to have, and 4 weeks is a good minimum to have for each rotation. But
But I
doesn't
think
mean 2 weeks is
most of the
less.
programs will have a prerequisite of like 2 months, 3 months. So I would like advise to go for at least 3 months so that you get three different LORs by working with
Yeah,
three different doctors, which is a prerequisite to apply for most of the programs. So 3 months of rotation should be good.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this rotation, do you go to them or do they recruit you?
You
No.
you ask for rotations. You ask for getting to rotate with them under their guidance. And like yeah, during those times you shadow the doctor. You see how they work, how the system works. You learn from them, and they will also observe you, how you're passionate about it, what like kind of work you do, and your communication skills, everything. And they'll mention all of that in the letters they write, the letters of recommendation they write. They do mention all of that in that. So yeah, uh, that's how you go about rotations. You ask for the doctors. You see what kind of rotation suits for you. To be honest, you try to choose some inpatient rotation, some rotation where you would want to match something like New York, which is like IMG friendly. You try to find a rotation there. You try to figure out doctors in that area, and you reach out to them, and that's how you get a rotation.
Okay. And any of the courses you used apart, like you only use your books for your sources, or use any of the crash courses for your preparation, Dr. Arpita?
Uh, like I mentioned, I did Marrow first, and after that, I started with first aid and UWorld. But in between, I used Boats and Beyond to understand a few topics. So this is what I used. Other than that, for step two, we have White Coat Companion. That's what I use. But for the most part, I think for step two, I used a lot of YouTube videos. I will insist on that because you have a gold collection on YouTube, like to understand the topics. Yeah. So this is what I used. I did not use any specific kind of like course like Kaplan or something for USMLE. Amboss, Kaplan, you have all of that. A few of my friends did use, but I didn't use that.
Okay. And what about you, Dr. Purvik? Any craft courses that you can?
Yeah, for the most part, even I stuck to first aid. For step one, it was just first aid and UWorld. Maybe ports and beyond for a little bit. For step two, it was just UWorld. I didn't even use first aid for step two. Um, and for step three, I used a little bit of White Coat Companion and UWorld and CCS cases, but that's it. But like she said, you have many options like Amboss. I heard good things about Amboss for ethics specifically.
Yeah.
Uh, but other than that, I'm not sure about how good it is. I think I would stick to UWorld because that's where the gold standard is.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
and for step one, I think, I mean, just to mention Pathoma is really important. I would advise everyone to use Pathoma at least for step one. That's something I forgot to mention, but yeah.
okay. And one question. As an Indian, is it different for you out there, or like is it the same?
So we are coming from a completely different healthcare system, right? The way we approach things is very, very different. That's why I sort of I was told by other doctors in the US that that's why they sort of insist on us having US clinical experience, because you sort of get a taste for what medicine in the US is like, and it's very different. The way they approach things is very different. It's always clinical evidence based medicine, they say, where you're always looking at guidelines and there's numbers and there's a lot of things guiding every single thing that you do. uh, so yeah, it's very, very different, and that's also one of the reasons why you should do rotations. I think once you actually do rotations, you sort of will realize whether this is actually what you want or no. It might not be for everyone. I mean, let's put aside the fact that it's a lot of financial commitment, as well as a very prolonged experience of pain. But it also comes down to whether you enjoy practicing medicine in the US. So you should definitely do a rotation for that sake at least. But yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different.
To
You want to
add
add
to
something?
that, I feel like US is all about diversity. So if you're wondering like if we can adjust there or something, no, you can. Like you will get good amount of opportunities, probably equal. If you work good, hard enough, and then you show, your dedication there, you will get good opportunities. So it's like, yeah, I think it should be good that way.
Okay. And USMLE, it's not a race; it's a marathon, right? It's like a lot of effort, dedication, and all that. And I think we as humans tend to get demotivated a lot. What kept you guys going through? Like, there must be days where you must have just thought, "Is this all worth it?" But what kept you running?
All the time. So, yeah, it is. You constantly feel that way because rewarding is very much important when you're going through any kind of process. And with USMLE, the ultimate reward is residency. And for that, there are a lot of steps. So, I believe what kept me going was having the right circle of friends. I had study partners who used to constantly like motivate me. And sometimes when I felt demotivated, I used to see the environment around me and them working hard, and then I used to, uh, proceed with that. And it was, yeah, that I think having good study partners will help you a lot in this journey. And also, like, yeah, like once you go to US rotations, you see what the system actually has to offer for you. And I think that can be a really good motivating factor when you see there, be there, and be like, this is the kind of life I want. I think that can be a pretty motivating factor too.
Okay. And what about you, Dr. Purvik?
Right. So, I mean, it's very important to realize that. I mean, like you said, it's a marathon, right? So, it's very easy to get demotivated, and I felt that every second of my journey. But I think one thing you need to realize is small steps are really important. So you have to celebrate the small wins that you have. A decent score on an NBME, or eventually getting to a good block in the UWorlds, and eventually getting to a decent score in the steps. And the like. But then again, you have to realize that since it's a very long journey, you sort of feel like you're disconnected from medicine for a for a prolonged period of time. So what helps is clinical rotations. So that is when you sort of go there, you sort of see these patients. Initially, you might have difficulty, at the new workplace, because it's a completely different style of work. But you get used to it, then you're able to build rapport with the patients, you're able to practice this so-called evidence-based medicine, and then you start doing well, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is what I am working towards, and this is what I'm working for. And then you come back, you write step 2, and the like, and then you get yourself certified, and then you're immediately already in the residency cycle, right? So yeah, I think small wins. When you feel disconnected, go for rotations, look at patients. I think patients are your greatest teachers. So yeah, that's how I kept myself motivated, at least, and good friends, and very, very good study partners. So
Okay. And how does one manage, how does they manage balancing between the college life and preparing for the USMLE preparation? Like, I think it's a very difficult process, to handle both of them together. How did you guys do it?
So, like I mentioned, I started my preparation after graduation. But when in college, I understand you will have to manage your curriculum and your family steps. So, I would say, like, do not compromise your learning with respect to medicine in the college for these steps, because you can always do it. You can always take your time. But understanding, whatever curriculum you are going through currently, and giving your exams properly in third year and final year is very, very important. So yeah, like you should like try to manage things. I know you will have to compromise a lot of other extracurricular activities, but I think it'll be worth it, and I think that needs a little extra effort from your side.
Mhm. Dr. Purvik, anything to add?
um well, I think it comes down to the fact that when you start preparing for the USMLE exams, the sort of understanding you need to have to clear this exam is very deep. Okay, so you sort of develop your understanding slowly when you're doing all these UWorld, and going through first aid and all these kinds of things. And I think you sort of realize that a lot of the things that we force ourselves to read when you're in MBBS make a lot more sense when you sort of understand the concepts behind it. So medicine can become a lot more uh, you know interesting, I think, if you sort of start getting the concepts behind it. So, well, if you understand the concepts, then I don't think medical school should be very hard. But of course, you have to forego a lot of outings with friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess it comes down to how well you are able to balance both of these things.
Okay, I think one last question from my side before we throw to the audience.
Right.
How you how is the USMLE life so far? You've passed everything, you found your residency. Now, how is it for you?
Understand?
I I would say it's fulfilling. It's worth it, guys. So going through the whole thing is absolutely worth it. Uh, yeah, like this is something you would have dreamt of for years, and you would have worked for every single step and defied all the odds and tried to find new things, trying to take a different path. So amidst all this, like when you actually get there, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very happy feeling to be here. Obviously, I think it's nice looking back, and you think, oh, this is nice to be here. But obviously, I think we've been through a lot. You go through a lot when you decide to go on this journey, uh, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. So it's a lot of things which get drained. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, getting the email that you matched is definitely the best feeling I've ever had till date. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth it, man.
Congratulations to both of you. I think now we'll open the questions to audience. So if you have any questions, please ask. Go ahead.
Okay, so someone asked something in the chat. At what point during MBBS do you go for rotations? Should it be after giving step one? I think when you're doing MBBS, you you can write step one. I think that's better to get one exam out of the way and then going for rotations, because it sort of keeps you motivated to keep doing more. Uh, so yeah, I would definitely advise writing one exam before you go.
Yeah, and also like knowing concepts from step one will keep you familiar with the conditions you will see in US. So I think yeah, that's a good thing to do, giving your step one and then going for rotations.
Yeah, just simple things like, see, you're not going to see a lot of tuberculosis there, right? So you're sort of, the way you think has to change a little bit. So yeah, just small things like that. So it's definitely beneficial to have one step one out of the way. It's not mandatory, but I think these days a lot of these rotation places ask for step one. So it's better to put it out of the way.
How many months or years does it actually take to match into a program? Um, so that there's no specific timeline that everyone will have for matching into a program, but I would say for step one, you will need a preparation time of around 6 months. For step two, again, a time period of 6 months. And rotations of some 3 to 4 months. I think with all this included, I think you need to dedicate at least 1 to 2 years to, I think around 2 years to go through this process for sure.
That's why doing it during medical school becomes imperative, because you sort of save the time once you graduate. Otherwise, once you graduate, the clock's ticking, and you're suddenly an old graduate. And after you
Yes.
graduate, if you decide to put 6 months rotations and whatnot, you're looking at 2 years post graduation, right? And then you become an old grad, and you're not as desirable anymore, and it becomes harder to match. But yeah, I mean, I'm not fear mongering or anything, but that's just the brutal reality of the whole situation. So try to do stuff, uh, you know, in medical school, so that you don't have to end up spending a lot of time once you graduate.
Yes. How did you apply for clinical rotations? For clinical rotations, I think initially what I did was I used to go through the Reddit, IMG Reddit community and see if any rotations, currently universities are accepting any, applications for rotations. And then go through this Instagram. There are a lot of people on Instagram who keep you posted on, what rotations you can take. So I used to apply for all of them. But I wouldn't say like all of my applications did work or some I got response to all of them. But you keep trying. That's how like you get to know about rotations and apply for them. You can also try to research about the hospitals which have residency program and go to their websites and see if they have offer rotations and apply. I know initially it's like difficult to actually find out which programs, which hospitals, and that too in a different country. But you start to get a hold of it as you start and you go ahead with it. I think you'll go hold of it.
One thing one candidate has asked, I heard getting surgery is really difficult and we need letters of recommendation and stuff. So how do we increase our chances to get into a residency of choice other than a good score?
So, with respect to surgery, I think it comes down to having research. Surgery is research heavy, so they want you to have done research in surgical related fields, not just in India, but in the US too. So, and surgery is extremely contact dependent. So, that becomes really, really hard. So it sort of becomes like you are working as a uh, you know as a postdoc or something in the US in surgery, and then you sort of get recommended into positions by other people. I'm not saying that that's what exactly happens, but recommendation plays a very huge role in that. And with respect to the letter of recommendations, you need letter of recommendation even for internal medicine. So you're going to need letters of recommendations and contacts regardless. But I think surgery is research heavy, like I said before.
Yeah, to add to that, actually, NRMP has good data. So, in the NRMP website, you can see how many candidates matched to the surgery programs and what was their average score, what were their average publications, and the amount of their, whatever rotations and all of that. So, I think you can look up at those data, and then you get a good idea with that data. But like Purvik mentioned, contacts are very important in surgery. Like people I know have worked for a year or something, just as observers or volunteers in the surgery department, and eventually they have landed up there. So because we are all visa requiring, I think we need to put in much more effort for branches like that. Yeah.
And one
So
more student has asked, what are the branches that IMGs usually match into?
Yeah. I
so
think
yeah, go ahead.
so. Internal medicine is pretty heavy with IMGs. Then family medicine is also good IMGs, and pediatrics also a lot of IMGs do choose. Uh, I think these are like the most concentrated with IMGs. Other than that, people also match into neurology, psychiatry. Uh, also I've heard people are matched into surgery, OBG, dermat, but that is pretty on the lower side, like very less. But mostly IM, FM, and pediatrics. Pathology also to add. Actually, pathology also has good IMGs.
Uh, any
And
sources? Yeah.
I think, is there any source for any help for research? Any sources that you guys know?
So you have a research course by NIH called IPCCR, or yeah, I think it's called IPCCR. I'm not sure. You should look that up. It's a free course by NIH. I definitely recommend doing that. It's sort of, you sort of get an idea about what to do. But of course, there are also paid options, paid courses to learn about research and what to do and what to look for and all these kinds of things. But yeah, based on how much you are willing to shell out, I think you have different options. Like, you can go, you can even get something from Harvard. I think that's like some $20,000 or something. So yeah, I mean, you have a lot of options. It just depends on what you are looking for and what you can do.
Yeah. So for
The
resources,
task,
I think you can try
sorry, sir.
to like find something like CIBNP. Is that right? Is that what Dr. Purvik, that CIBNP is one
Okay, maybe that's
resource?
one of those things. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
where
use
they
that.
offer a
I heard about
course.
that, but yeah.
It's like a course where they, tell you how to do systematic reviews and all of that. There are a lot of courses like that. You can figure that out online, actually.
Yeah, there are a lot of good resources online.
I think the Match Guy also has a good research course. Like, I think it's paid. I think it's some $50 or something, but they do have courses. You can figure it out online on the Reddit community. Yeah.
Mr. Shastri has asked, are there any specific things which help with matching to interventional radiology, similar to what Dr. Purvik mentioned for surgery?
So I only know one guy who matched into radiology. That to diagnostic radiology, I think IR is even harder. But what this guy did was, I think all his research, his CV, everything was radiology specific. He did rotation specific to radiology, but it comes down to contacts. I don't know how this guy matched into radiology, but then he did research in radiology too. So this guy found a mentor through Twitter and managed to do a rotation under that particular preceptor in some university somewhere, and then eventually went on to publish a lot of papers with this person. Uh, and he built good contacts. So I guess that sort of helps into getting into diagnostic radiology. About IR, I'm not sure, but radiology, this is all I know, and it's notoriously hard to match even for American residents. So um, yeah, I don't have much idea about IR.
Any other questions from the audience? I think if not, we can wrap it up. Okay. Okay. Which parts of the process are usually proved to be difficult?
I would say every step is a hurdle. Every step needs figuring it out. I used to think, oh, once I'm done with the exams, I'm all good. But even filling out your application, putting it in the right words, writing your personal statement, trying to figure out what programs you want to apply for, what programs you have to signal. There's a lot, and all of this is, I wouldn't like it's not difficult, but it needs a lot of figuring out and putting work into it. Uh, but once you understand it, you will enjoy it, and yeah, you will get through it.
Yeah, I agree. Every part of the process was particularly difficult, I feel like, because, like she said, you think you go through so much pain to clear the exam, and then you're like, hey, I'm done. And then you struggle to get a visa interview. And then
Oh,
you
yeah.
get a visa interview, you struggle to get rotations. And then when you get to the rotations, you struggle to understand what's going on, and then you sort of have to work towards that. And then when you get the hang of that, you realize, oh, you have to write another exam. And then you're like, oh, I have to network. And network is its own set of problems that you have to deal with because people don't respond. It's just, and it's okay, they don't know you. You can't expect everyone to respond in a positive fashion. uh, and then you're like, oh, okay, I figured this out. And then the application cycle comes up, and then you have to fill up the CV, and then you have to proofread. You've never written a CV before, especially where you're describing what you did in each rotation, and that becomes particularly difficult. And then you get that figured out, and then you're like, oh, now I have to prepare for an interview. And most of us in India would never have given an interview before in our lives for any reason whatsoever, because you just write an exam called NEET or whatever kind of exam, national exam that you have, and then you get into medical school, and that's it. You don't ever get interviewed for any reason, and that becomes intimidating. So yeah, it's a lot of difficult parts of the process, but yeah, learn to enjoy it, man. I think it'll be worth it in the end.
Okay. We have one more student who asked, what is ERAS and ESFMG registration? How does that play a role before matching?
So Eras is where it's like an interface where you apply, where you submit your application. So, and ECFMG registration is the first step for you to get into USMLE. You register, you get your USMLE ID, and with that, you are ready for, getting into this process. So, I think for now, for medical students, ECFMG registration is something you need to know about. But later on, when you're applying, you will get to know about ERAS. It's
Yeah.
for applying for programs when the math
Mhm.
cycle begins. So
Yeah.
how does
Yeah,
that play a
ECFMG is basically the organization which sort of certifies foreign graduates and sort of uh, quality controls who is getting into the US, and that's ECFMG, and they're the ones through which you're able to write USMLEs and even participate in the residency process. ERAS, like
yeah,
Dr. Arpitha said, is the interface where you actually apply to residency programs itself.
and they're the ones actually ECFMG were the ones who will be sponsoring you if you get a J1 visa. They are the ones who are responsible for your training once you get into residency. How yeah. How does that play a role before matching? I think that also answered that question.
I think that's all from the audience. Anyways, thank you, Dr. Arpitha. Thank you, Dr. Purvik, for I think we learned a lot in this 1 hour. And just congratulations to both of you on matching. I think your blood, sweat, and tears, all of them are, finally full. You know, just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, guys. We really enjoyed uh, this session. So thanks for having us. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, guys. It's nice to see you all start early, have these committees, and work with each other through this process. So good luck to you all. Hope you all get into your dream residency.
Thank you.